So, what do you want to do with the old account? The voice on the phone is friendly, reading off a script. It's 4:52 on Jake's last Friday at the old job, and the rep just opened 3 doors. Leave it, roll it over, or take the cash. There's $9,140 in that account. The deposit on the new apartment cleared yesterday, and take the cash. Stop sounding like a mistake and start sounding like a reward. Here's what the friendly voice won't mention. That third door has a toll booth on the far side, and it keeps about a third of whatever you carry through. Jake's thumb is already moving, same as 1 in 3 people. The thing nobody tells you about that take the cash button is that it might be the most expensive click in your financial life. About a third of people, 1 in 3, cash out their 401k when they leave a job. That's the retirement account you build at work, and it isn't a checking account with a small fee for early access. Cashing out before 59.5 sets off 3 charges at once. The IRS adds a 10% penalty just for going early. Your normal income tax takes its slice, and the plan is required to hold back another 20% before you ever see a dollar. 3 separate hands in one pocket, and they file it under distribution. It feels like found money. It's the only money you find by burning the rest. Here's the whole video in one line. Cashing out costs you a third today and a fortune tomorrow. At Mr. Sense, we spend way too much time reading the fine print on the decisions that look free and aren't. So if a friendly voice has ever told you something was no big deal right before it cost you, subscribe. We break down one money trap every day so you see the next one coming. Start with David. 3 weeks ago, David's whole team got an email that opened with the words, "Difficult decision." He's an engineer. He walked out with 9 weeks of severance and a login to a benefits portal. Inside it, his old 401k, $14,200. The mortgage didn't get laid off, the severance is thin, and the portal makes cashing out one bright, easy button. So let's follow David's $14,200 out the door and watch who's standing there with a handout. First, the plan holds back 20%, $2,840 before David sees a cent. That's withholding, money the IRS makes the plan keep up front. And that 20% isn't his tax bill. It's the down payment on his tax bill. The IRS does layaway now, and David is the merchandise. Next, because David is under 59.5, there's a 10% early withdrawal penalty, another $1,420, a fee for the crime of needing his own money a few years early. Then the whole $14,200 gets stacked on top of his income for the year and taxed at his bracket. And this is the part the friendly voice skips. That 20% they already grabbed is not the final bill. If David lands in the 22% bracket, he can still owe more in April. When the dust settles, David's $14,200 is closer to $9,900, and he hasn't paid a single bill yet. He set fire to roughly a third just to hold the rest. And David's not careless. He's 3 weeks out from a job he didn't choose to lose, doing triage on a mortgage. The portal just made the worst option, the easiest one to click. There's a name for what David just did, for the way leaving a job flips a switch that says, "Take it now." We call it the Cash-Out Reflex. It isn't greed and it isn't stupidity. It's present bias. Your brain treating today you like a real person, and future, you like a stranger you'll never meet. The reflex is so strong that 85% of the people who cash out don't take a little off the top. They drain the whole account, not a withdrawal, a clean sweep. The reflex doesn't nibble. It empties the room and turns off the lights on the way out, and it adds up to something staggering. Every year, Americans cash out roughly $92 billion this way, more than 4.5 million people. Money that simply evaporates out of the retirement system. That's bigger than the entire economy of most countries. Set on fire one job change at a time. Not stolen by a villain in a suit. Handed over one friendly phone call at a time by people who were just trying to get through a hard week. Now the part that actually hurts. Because the day one tax isn't the real cost. Money in a retirement account is a seed. Cash it out, and you've eaten the seed. Take a smaller, cleaner number. $5,000 cashed out at age 25. Left alone at a 7% return. And 7% is the cautious assumption. The market has done closer to 10% over the long run. That $5,000 grows to about $19,300 in 20 years, about $38,100 in 30, and about $74,900 by the time you turn 65. So a $5,000 reward at 25 is really a $74,900 decision. Let that land. $74,900 is a paid-off car, a kid's first 2 years of college, and a real cushion under your retirement. Gone for $5,000 you'll barely remember spending. Add up all of this leaking across the country, and researchers estimate it shrinks what the average saver retires with by about a quarter, at least a fifth by the most cautious math. And cashing out at job changes is the single biggest leak of all. Bigger than 401k loans, bigger than hardship withdrawals. This is the page the handbook skips. The system is quietly rooting for the reflex. If your old balance is $1,000 or less, the plan can mail you a check without even asking, which triggers the tax and the penalty whether you wanted them or not. Congress raised the line they can force you out at to $7,000 in 2024, and about 72% of plans push out anyone under $5,000 the moment they leave. Doing nothing is itself a decision, and it can still cost you. This is also why it's almost never a one-time slip. The typical worker has about 9 employers over a career, 9 separate chances for the reflex to fire, and people are reaching for this money more, not less. The share taking a hardship withdrawal climbed from about 2% in 2021 to nearly 5% by 2024, the most since anyone started counting. The pressure is real. The reflex just turns real pressure into a permanent loss. Researchers found that one cash out raises your odds of running short in retirement by about 11 percentage points, and doing it twice pushes your odds of falling short to nearly 47%. There's one boring number that makes this reflex almost never fire, and we'll get to it. But first, watch it happen to someone whose math you can feel in your own stomach. So back to Jake. $452 on that Friday, thumb over the button, $9,140 in the account, a new apartment to fill. Let's do Jake's math out loud, the way he never did. Jake's salaried. He makes about $58,000, which lands him in the 22% bracket. The slice the IRS takes off his top dollars start at $9,140. The plan holds back 20%, $1,828, before the money even reaches his checking. He's down to $7,312, and he hasn't decided anything yet. Then the 10% early penalty for being under 59.5, another $914, gone. Then the $9,140 stacks onto his salary at tax time, and at 22% the income tax on it runs about $2,011, and the 20% they already kept doesn't quite cover it, so he owes a little more in April. When it all clears, Jake's $9,140 reward is about $6,215 in his pocket. We started at $9,140. We're at $6,215. He handed back roughly a third, about $2,925, for the privilege of spending his own retirement early. Look at it one more time. And that's $6,215 he can actually touch. It didn't just cost him the $9,140 today. It cost him the $40,000 to $70,000 that same money would have quietly become by the time he could have retired on it. He didn't buy anything. He paid a fee to make his future smaller. Same salary, same bills, same person. The only difference between the Jake who keeps that money and the Jake who doesn't is 10 seconds and one phone call. And Jake isn't reckless. He didn't blow it at a casino. He needed to land in a new place with the lights on. The button was right there. A friendly voice made it sound free, and the system was counting on exactly that. Before the comments catch fire, let's Steelman the other side. Because there's a real argument here, and it goes like this. It was only a few $1,000. I needed it right then for actual bills, and that balance was never going to fund my retirement anyway. That is not a dumb argument. It's a strong one. The accounts people cash out are usually small. In the ones the system can force out, the typical balance is under $1,700, less than it takes to even open a lot of investment accounts. People earning under $100,000 are about 3.5 times more likely to pull money out in a hardship, and for them, roughly 7 in 10 of those withdrawals go straight to stopping an eviction or a foreclosure or covering a medical bill. And a lot of these job changes are layoffs like David's, where the cash need is genuinely urgent, not a whim. Even the economists agree some cash you can reach is a good thing. A well-known study on the best possible retirement design found the ideal system actually keeps part of your savings within arm's reach for emergencies. When David got laid off with a thin severance and a mortgage, his $14,200 wasn't a luxury, it was oxygen. So here's the concession. If you are genuinely staring down eviction, foreclosure, or a medical bill, and there is no other money, the account is there for that, and nobody should make you feel small for using it. But here's the line. When researchers actually asked, only about a third of cash outs were true emergencies. Almost 2/3 were avoidable. Ordinary bills, money taken because cashing out was the easy button at a job change, not because the lights were about to go off. That's the reflex. And the reflex can't tell the difference between David's emergency and Jake's moving truck. It fires either way, so the rule writes itself. If it's a true emergency and you have no other cash, use it and don't look back. If it's a job change and the bills are the ordinary kind, keep your hands off the button and do the one thing that makes the reflex impossible. Here's the quiet joke buried in all of this. Moving your money the smart way takes one boring phone call. Setting it on fire takes one easy click. The system made the expensive option the frictionless one, and that's not an accident. So let's make the smart move just as easy. It has a name, a rollover, and all it means is moving the money from your old account into a new one without it ever landing in your hands. 3 moves. Count them. Move 1. Never let them mail the check to you. The second a check has your name on it, that 20% gets held back and a 60-day clock starts. And if you don't redeposit every dollar, including the part they kept, the rest turns into a taxable withdrawal. The check in your hand is the trap. Don't take the check. Move 2. Ask for a direct rollover. That means the money goes account to account, your old plan straight to your new one, and never touches your checking. You call the place that holds your new account, your new jobs plan, or an IRA you can open in 10 minutes, and you say 5 words. I want a direct rollover. Nothing gets withheld. Nothing gets taxed. No penalty. Your $9,140 stays $9,140, and it keeps growing. Or if your old plan is a good one, you can simply leave the money right where it is. That counts too. The only option that bleeds is the one where the cash comes to you. Watch Sarah do it. Sarah's a nurse, and nurses change jobs the way the rest of us change phone plans. The first time she left a hospital, she almost took the cash. The second time, she made one call on her lunch break, said the 5 words, and her balance had moved over before her coffee got cold. By the time she switched the third hospital, she didn't even think about it. The call was muscle memory, and 3 old balances were now one account, quietly compounding in the background of a life that already had enough going on. No tax, no penalty. She didn't feel a thing, which is exactly the point. Move 3. Park $2,000 somewhere boring. This is the number we promised you, the one that makes the reflex almost never fire. Vanguard found that people with just $2,000 set aside in plain emergency savings were 43 percentage points less likely to cash out their retirement when they left a job. Not because they had more willpower, because when the moving truck cleaned them out, they had somewhere else to reach. The buffer isn't there to make you rich. It's there so that button never gets to ask you a question you'll regret answering. It's the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy against your own worst 10 seconds. Do those 3 things, and your next job change gets boring. The money just moves and keeps compounding, and what do you want to do with the old account? Stops being a temptation and becomes a formality. You stop being one of the 1 in 3, because cashing out cost you a third today and a fortune tomorrow, and now you know how to pay neither. So, picture Jake again. 4:52 on that last Friday. The friendly voice still waiting on the line. Only this time he doesn't reach for the cash. He says the 5 words, hangs up, and goes to load the truck. $9,140 still in the market. Still growing. No third gone today, no fortune gone tomorrow. He just stopped being the 1 in 3. The reflex will whisper at every exit you ever take. And the people who keep the most aren't the ones who earn the most or want it the least. They're the ones who, for 10 seconds at the worst possible moment, kept their thumb off the button. That's the trap. Now you see it. Subscribe so you see the next one coming, because future you isn't a stranger. It's just you standing at the next exit, hoping this version of you didn't take the cash.